Hello everyone, myself Deepa Singh, working as assistant professor in Suresh Gyan Vihar University. Today we discuss about pre-formulation. What is pre-formulation? This pre-formulation topic is industrial pharmacy, one subject, and this is a fifth semester subject. So in this subject, you should know about every formulation, how you formulate, or which factor is responsible for formulation or affect their property or their efficacy. So today we discuss about pre-formulation. So let's start. In this topic, first we discuss about learning object, and in learning object, before starting this topic, you should know about introduction of dosage form, which type of dosage form available in market or in pharmaceutical dosage form classification. Next is introduction of pre-formulation. What is pre-formulation? Pre-formulation is process or parameter which come before formulation, or you evaluate your drug or all excipient, it is a good or their compatibility with each other. Next is consideration of physicochemical characteristics of the drug molecule with different dosage form, means their physicochemical compatibility or their individual compatibility with each excipient, or maybe excipient with drug or drug. And next is significance of pre-formulation study. In this prospective context, in this pre-formulation, almost without exception, all drugs that which are active orally are marketed as a tablet, capsule, or both. Mainly pre-formulation study is required for a solid dosage form or maybe oral dosage form, especially tablet, capsule, or similar to tablet capsule formulation. Although only few drugs are commercially available as an injection form. Only 25% are drug marketed as a tablet or capsule. And during early toxicity, metabolic viability, and clinical study, and injection, particularly IV, is always required in order to guarantee precise drug and dose reposition. Means, excuse me, only 25% drug are available in a solid dosage form in a tablet and capsule, and remaining drug majorly prefer other than this oral route. And majorly drugs are prepared by parenteral route because this parenteral route show more efficacy and large or fast effect, and it do not show first pass effect also. Next is how much drug is available in market according to dosage form, and tablets majorly available in 45.8%. Next is capsule, it's available in 13%. Next is liquid oral, it's a 16%. Injections is 15%. Injection with parenteral formulation. Topical means cream, lotions, all are comes in topical formulation. It's only 3%. Next is eye preparation. It's a 1.8%. Next is suppository and pessaries is 3.3%. Next is aerosols. In aerosol, majorly sprays are included. And other than these formulation, remaining some formulation also covered. It's only very little amount, that is 0.3%. But you said this concentration major tablets formulation are formulated in market is approx 45.8%, and other formulation are less preferred compared to tablet because tablet are easily administered, anyone can take tablet, and no specific or experienced persons required for this route, and so your tablets are preferred in large number. Next is pre-formulation definition. In this, pre-formulation is a branch of pharmaceutical science that utilizes biopharmaceutical principle in determination of physicochemical property of the drug. Means pre-formulation is a branch of pharmaceutics and utilize biopharmaceutical principles. In this, you check biopharmaceutical parameters. You know about what is biopharmaceutical parameter. In this, mainly you cover pharmacodynamic and pharmacokinetic parameters, and you check physicochemical property. In physicochemical property, there's a different parameters we include, like pH, pKa, solubility, color, odor, all are in a physicochemical properties. Prior to the development of any dosage form, new drug, it is essential that certain fundamental physical chemical property of a powder are determined. Before you formulate your formulation or finalize your formulation, you should know about all individual excipient compatibility or their parameter. It should compatible with your drug, with your formulation, or their efficacy or their solubility. So you, before formulating your formulation, evaluate individual parameter or overall formulation. This is known as pre-formulation. Information may dictate many subsequent event and approaches in formulation development. The first learning phase is known as pre-formulation. We already said that before formulating a formulation, our first step is known as pre-formulation. Next is introduction of pre-formulation. In this introduction, first is definition part, investigation of physico-chemical property of a new drug compound that could affect drug performance and development of efficacious dosage form. In this means before formulating your drug, you should evaluate individual parameter or performance of your drug, check their efficacy or confirm that this particular formulation is suitable for particular disease. Next is pre-formulation commence when a newly synthesized drug shows sufficient pharmacological promise in animal model to warrant evaluation in man. In this, you also confirm that particular effect is shown or observed by particular drug. In this pre-formulation parameter, you confirm this parameter with the help of animal. And this study is also known as preclinical study. Next is pre-formulation is the first step in the rational development of a dosage form of the drug substance alone and when the combined with excipient. In this, you maybe check individual drug efficacy or when you combine with your drug or interaction with excipient or drug excipient. Individually confirm their compatibility or the interaction. Next is objective of pre-formulation to generate useful information to the formulator to design an optimal drug delivery system. Pre-formulation is mainly responsible to optimize your formulation or formulate good quality formulation, and it shows maximum effect, maximum therapeutic effect, less side or toxic effect, or show particular desired effect in a particular site. So main object is to reduce some steps or maybe formulate good quality or good optimized formulation. In this next we discuss goals of pre-formulation. So what is goal? How you formulate or why you formulate this pre-formulation. Goal of pre-formulation means you maybe reduce some study or maybe some like animals, or you just before check a particular formulation is good or not. So you can also reduce some animals. Suppose after formulation, you see that your drug is not desirable and you use large number of animals for your formulation. So with the help of this pre-formulation study, you can also reduce number of animals using for your testing or maybe some chemicals, time or your cost also. So main goal of this pre-formulation is to reduce your requirement for final formulation, and you just confirm this step before starting your formulation. Next is physicochemical characteristic of a drug substance. In this, organoleptic characteristics, bulk characteristics. In organoleptic, maybe taste, odor, all are included in organoleptic characteristics. Second is bulk characteristics. In this bulk characteristic, crystallinity, polymorphism. Next is hygroscopicity, fine particle characterization, powder flow property. All this comes in bulk characterization. And next slide we discuss in this individual topic. And solubility analysis is next physicochemical characteristics. In this, ionization constant, pKa, pH solubility profile, common ion effect, thermal effect, all are come in a solubility analysis. Next, in the solubility analysis, solubilization, partition coefficient, dissolution. Next type is stability analysis. In stability analysis, you check stability of formulation. It is compatible or not during storage or maybe shelf life or their toxicity. All come in this stability analysis. In stability analysis, toxicity and toxicity of the formulation, solution solubility, pH rate profile, solid state stability, bulk stability, and compatibility. All are come in stability analysis. And first, physicochemical properties, organoleptic property. Organoleptic property is unfortunately many drug substance in use today and unpalatable dosage form containing such drugs or oral preparation may require addition of flavor and colors. Means in organoleptic property, we majorly discuss about their flavor, color, odor, taste are all come in organoleptic property. If suppose we prepare for formulation children, and children formulation. So in this case, you maybe improve their taste, odor, or maybe color, appearance. So every child can take easily the particular formulation without hesitate or without any bitter or bad taste. So in this, first is color. Color is generally a function of a drug inherent chemical structure relating to certain level of unsaturation. And the color intensity relate to extent of conjugated unsaturation as well as the presence of chromophore. You know that chromophore is major or responsible to produce color. So you take any type of color, but this color may be FDA approved. Don't take any color. You just check their compatibility or their stability, and it's approved with FDA or not. And maybe use combination of a color or FDA approved any color for your formulation. And when you use this color, it change appearance of your formulation. But when you use this color, it should not affect your formulation. It should be show good compatibility, good stability, and some compound may appear to color through structurally saturated. Next factor is odor, and the substance may exhibit inherent odor characteristic of a major functional group present. Odor generally greatly affect the flavor of preparation or foodstuffs. If some drugs show more bad odor or maybe different orders, so you can improve this odor by using some flavor or some FDA approved flavor. But this odor may be you use for food stuff or some other preparation. Next is taste. If taste is considered as unpalatable, consideration is to be given to use of the less soluble chemical form of the drug. And odor taste may be supposed by using appropriate flavor, excipient, or maybe coating the final product. Taste maybe you improve for small child preparation, or maybe your formulation show very bad taste, then you can use some taste improving or taste enhancing excipients and overcome this unpalatable taste. And in this taste, you should also overcome or maybe check it's compatible with your formulation or not. In this, mainly use some flavors. And this taste you also improve for with the help of coating material. Suppose you prepare one tablet and there's a bad taste or bad smell, then you just coat that tablet and overcome this taste. And this is mainly for tablet. Next, these are the color, odor, and taste. Different types of color: off white, cream yellow, tan, and shining, and fruity, aromatic, odorless. Taste is acidic, sulfurous, bitter, bland, intense, sweet, and tasteless. Next is bulk characterization and crystality. Crystal habit and internal structure of the drug can affect the bulk and physicochemical properties of the molecule. And it is further divided into two parts: crystal habit and internal structure. And this bulk characterization affect the bulk property or flow property of your powder or your molecule. Crystal habit is a description of outer appearance of the crystal. Means outer appearance, outer structure of the crystal is known as crystal habit. And internal structure is the molecular arrangement within the solid. Means inside molecule is known as internal structure and outer molecule is known as crystal habit. And change with internal structure usually utter crystal habit. Suppose your internal structure change, it maybe show changes in outer appearance also, crystal habit also. Example, conversion of a sodium salt to its free acid form or produce both change in internal structure and crystal habit. Suppose you use sodium salt and it get convert and show some changes, then it may be chances that crystal habit as well as internal structure of the crystal gets changed. These are the different types of crystal. First is cubic, second is tetragonal, triclinic, orthombic, hexagonal, monoclinic, and trigonal. Other than this, some additional structure are also included, but these are the major crystal structures. Next is different shapes of the crystals. Depending on the internal structure, compound is classified as crystalline and amorphous. These are the two types according to structure or internal structure of the crystal. In this, crystalline compound are characterized by repetitive spacing of constituent atom or molecule in dimensional array. Hence, repetitive spacing or molecule gets add or it forms three-dimensional structure. This is known as crystal, and it have less solubility, but your molecules are randomly arranged and it do not show 3D structure, then it is known as amorphous molecule or amorphous compound. In this, solubility and dissolution rate are greater for amorphous form and the crystalline. As amorphous form higher thermodynamic energy, but amorphous form have a higher thermodynamic energy and high solubility also. And according to storage condition or their stability, crystalline are more good. But according to solubility and thermodynamic study, amorphous are showing good result or good nature. Example, amorphous form of norvicitin is the best absorbed, where the crystalline form result in poor absorption. But some drugs are also suitable for absorption form, like novobiocin is an example. It is a more suitable or more absorbed by amorphous form compared to crystalline form. When you prepare this drug with in crystalline form, it show less absorption rate, and some storage condition is also not good. It may get degrade, so it's more so stable than amorphous form. Next is polymorphism. Polymorphism means types of crystal. It may be more than one type. It is the ability of a compound to crystallize as one more than distinct crystal species with different internal lattice. This more than one type of crystal is known as polymorphism. In this polymorph, it is two types, anisotropic and monotropic. The polymorph, which can be changed from one form to another form by varying temperature, is known as anisotropic polymorph. Means when your molecule got changed with different temperature or with different pressure, or varying temperature or pressure is known as anisotropic polymorph. But your drug or molecule don't change by particular temperature or pressure, it should be in an unstable form, and it is known as monotropic polymorph. Example is glycerol stearate for monotropic. For anisotropic, it's an sulfur. And this next is polymorph differ from each other with respect to their physical property, such as solubility, melting point, density, hardness. Suppose some drug have more solubility or less solubility, soluble in water or maybe in an oil. Point, density, hardness, compression characteristics, all are the parameter which affect or maybe show different type of polymorphism. So this type or this physical property is responsible to change polymorph. In this one example is compression characteristic. Chlorophenicol is chloramphenicol exists in A, B, C three forms. Suppose one drug or one formulation, chloramphenicol, is formulate three form A, B, C, and B form is a more stable and more preferable. Is a type of polymorph. Suppose chloramphenicol is available in three types, A, B, and C. Out of these three types, B is more preferable or more stable compared to your A and C form. Next is analytical method for characterization of solid form. In this microscopy, hot stage microscopy, thermal analysis, X-ray diffraction, infrared spectroscopy, proton magnetic response, nuclear magnetic response, scanning electron microscopy. All these are the method or analytical method used for physicochemical determination. Now we discuss this one by one. First is microscopy. In microscopy, material with more than one refractive index are anisotropic, appear bright light with brilliant color and against black polarized background. Means suppose your refractive index is anisotropic if your drug in more than one refractive index. It show more than one refractive index, then it's anisotropic and it appears with the help of bright color or against black background polarized light. The color intensity depend upon crystal thickness. This is mainly you measure with the help of how much thick your crystal or thickness crystal is a major factor affect your this reading. Next is isotropic. Material have a single refractive index. This substance do not transmit light with cross polarizing filter and appears black. In this case, isotropic material single refractive index is observed and your material do not transmit this light and cannot polarize filter appear. This is mainly appear in a background of a black. And this is a major difference between anisotropic and isotropic. Means anisotropic are more easily record and show more refractive index more than one. One in isotropic, it show only single refractive index and it do not transmit the light. But in an anisotropic, light is easily transmit and appears in a black background. But an isotropic is also appear in a black background. But isotropic may cross this black background. Next is advantages. By this method, we can study crystal morphology, difference between the polymorphic form With the help of this microscopy, you know about different types of crystal morphology and their types and disadvantages. This is require well-trained optical crystallographer as there are many possible crystal habit. Their appearance had a different orientation. In this technique, there's a trained person is required. Nobody performed this test or this microscopy handled. So in this, some specific person are required, which is well trained or well know about this microscopy. Next is hot stage microscopy. The polarizing microscope fitted with hot stage is used for investigation and polymorph melting point transition temperature. And disadvantages is in this technique, the molecule can degrade during the melting process. Molecule maybe get degrade or some heat sensitive molecule get destroyed and don't get proper results. But it is also good for some particular molecules. Next is the structure of microscopy. This first is object. Then after this object, there is a lens, stage, lead, insert. Then between this all stages, you put your sample. And below this, there's a heating element or condenser. And when you put your sample with the help of this condenser or this micrometer, it gets reflect and show the readings. Next is thermal analysis. Thermal analysis is also divided into different types. First one is differential scanning colorimetry or DSC. Second is differential thermal analysis or DTA. Are particularly useful in investigation of polymorphism, and it measures the heat loss or gain resulting from physical and chemical change within a sample as a function of temperature. With the help of DSC or DTA, we check how much temperature gets changed or changes in readings of a temperature. And with the help of this reading, you check how loss or gain that particular heat and record the readings. For characteristic using crystal form, the heat of fusion can be obtained from area under DSC curve, melting endotherm, and similar heat of transition from one polymorph to another form may be calculated. And this just changing from one polymorph to another polymorph or temperature reading with the help of DSC curve, you calculate. A sharp systematic melting endotherm can indicate relative purity of a molecule, and a broad symmetric curve indicate presence of impurity. If there's asymmetric curve is observed, then you can say that it's contain more impurity. If it's a symmetric melting point curve, then it's in pure form or it's a more purity. This is the difference between how you check your molecule is pure or impure form. Next type is X-ray diffraction. In X-ray diffraction, when a beam of non-homogeneous X-ray is allowed pass through the crystal, X-ray beam is diffracted. It is recorded by means of photographic plate, and diffraction is to crystal act as a three-dimension diffraction getting towards X-ray. In this X-ray diffraction, suppose X-ray light is get diffract or pass through a crystal. One reading is recorded due to this X-ray beam, and with the help of this reading or record, you check your compound is in which crystal type or which crystal form. This is a structure of this X-ray diffraction. And this first one is rotating anode and electrode, then focusing mirror. With the help of this focusing mirror, it get deflect. And next is crystal or your sample. When you put your sample or crystal in this round-like structure, and it focus with beam or with the help of focusing mirror, it get reflects. And after deflection, your readings are recorded in area detector. This is the last step, area detector. Here your readings are gets recorded. And this random orientation of a crystal lattice in a powder causes the X-ray scatter to reproducible pattern of a peak intensity. And the deflection pattern is characteristics of a specific crystal lattice for a given compound. Now, amorphous form does not produce a pattern mixture of a different crystal form. Suppose your drug is in crystalline form, then in this X-ray diffraction method, it easily gets record which type of crystal rate or the structure. But your drug is suppose in amorphous form, this technique do not used, or this technique is difficult to use because it's already in amorphous form, so you do not find out which type of crystal it form. Single crystal X-ray provide the most complete information about the solid state. Suppose your drug is in a single crystal form or 3D structure, then it provides more good result or more readings because in a single structure form. but in a polymorphic form is some difficult. In amorphous form, it majorly impossible to detect the structure of this particular molecule. Next is hygroscopicity. Many drug substances, particularly water-soluble salt form, have a tendency to absorb the atmospheric moisture, and absorption and moisture content depend on the atmospheric humidity, temperature, surface area, exposure mechanism, moisture uptake. In this means you check your drug is a hygroscopic form or water-soluble form. Hygroscopy means drug molecule have a tendency which easily absorb the moisture or maybe get wet, or it show more solubility after absorbing particular moisture. This hygroscopicity mainly due to the atmospheric humidity, temperature, surface area, exposure, mechanism of moisture uptake. Next is degree of hygroscopicity is classified into 4 classes. First class is slightly hygroscopic. Slightly hygroscopic means increase in weight more than 0.2% weight by weight and less than 2%. Suppose your weight is more than 2.2% or but less than 2% is known as slightly hygroscopic. But next class is hygroscopic. In this case, increase in weight is more than 0.2% weight by weight and less than 15%. Means suppose weight is more than 0.2% weight by weight, but less than 15% is known as hygroscopic. And very hygroscopic means increase in weight more than 15%, just above the hygroscopic. If weight is more than 15% approx weight by weight, then it is as very hygroscopic. Next is deliquescent. Deliquescent means sufficient water is absorbed to form a solution. In this condition, your molecule get absorb moisture and it converted their state. Maybe first it in solid state, after absorbing moisture, it converted into liquid or solution state, is known as deliquescent. Next is hygroscopic test. Are exposed to moisture, exposed to control relative humidity to environment. Moisture uptake is monitored in different. Suppose you put your sample in particular environmental condition, and before putting this material, just weigh your material, and at time you expose in a particular humidity or environmental condition. After that, you again reweigh or check the difference between before and after. This is a simple test. And other than this test, there is some instrumental or analytical test is also available. In this use gravimetry, Karl-Fischer titration, and gas chromatography. All these are used for hygroscopic test. Next is particle size. These terms: very coarse, coarse, moderately coarse, fine, or very fine. These are the types of particles. You maybe select this type according to the size, or maybe just according to how much particle size it is. Particle size can be influenced by a variety of factors such as dissolution rate, suspendability, uniform distribution, penetrability, lack of grittiness. How easy is that dissociate or suspend in particular solution or suspension, or uniform distribution, all particles in uniform size or not in uniform size. Next is penetrability, how it easily penetrate, or next is grittiness. These are the methods. In this, first is sieving. Sieving is mainly used for 5 to 150 particle size micron. Next is microscopy. This is mainly used to 0.2 to 200. Next is sedimentation rate method. This is used for 1 to 200, and light energy diffraction used for 0.5 to 500. And laser halography is mainly used for 1.5 particle size. Next is powder flow property. Powder flow property is a very important factor on, because the powder flow property also affect the dissolution rate or drug release rate. In this, powder flow property can affect change in particle size, shape, density. Flow property depend upon the following: force of friction, cohesion between one particle to another, fine particle process, poor flow by filling void space between the larger particle, causing picking, densification of a particle, or by using gradient we alter the flow property. Means powder flow property mainly depend on the force of friction or types of particle, or maybe their density, shape, or size. And fine particles, suppose your particles are not in uniform size, some particles are more, some particles are small in size. So a small or fine particle gets feel or fix between the large particle, and it form one dimension or pack cake-like structure. So your particle don't flow easily or don't flow in uniform way. and it affects the dissolution rate also. When you use gradient as an excipient, or maybe gradient some excipient like talc, it improves flow property, or particles get easily flow. Determination of flow property of a powder. In this, you mainly use angle of repose or calculate angle of repose. And this method is very easy, you also perform in lab. In this, greater angle of repose indicate poor flow. If reading of angle of repose is more, then it may indicate it may be poor flow property or poor flow particle property. It should be less than 30 degree and can be determined by following equation: tan theta is equal to h by r. And theta is angle of repose, h is the height of a pile, and r is the radius. These are the readings according to type of flow and angle of repose. If angle of repose is less than 25, then it show excellent flow. And it is between 25 to 30, it is a good. If it is a between 30 to 40, it is a passable. If it is on more than 40, then very poor. So if it's in less than 25, it should good or excellent. Or you should try, it should be less than 25 or maybe less than 30. If it's more than 30, then it should poor or maybe passable or good, not good flow property. So try to, it should be less than 30. Next is determination of flow property by another method. In this, measurement of free flowing powder compatibility is known as Carr's index. Formula of Carr's index is tap density minus pore density divided by 10 density into 100. The simple, fast, popular method of predicting. You can also calculate this Carr's index with the help of this reading. Suppose your reading is 5 to 15, then it show excellent flow. Suppose reading is 12 to 16, then it's a good. If it's 18 to 21, then it's a fair to passable. And 23 to 35 range is poor. And 33 to 38 is very poor. And more than 40 is extremely poor. So try this. Carr's index should be in a maybe less than 16 or between 5 to 16. Suppose it's more than 16, then it's not a good, and your formulation may show some variation or some problems. So it should be less than 16. So this is all about different types of pre-formulation parameter, different properties. And in this, we already discussed definition of a pre-formulation, what is pre-formulation, goals, characteristics of pre-formulation, physicochemical property, in this flow property, and particle size, crystalline form, polymorphism form. And after this complete information, you should know about this learning outcomes. In this first introduction of dosage form, this dosage form available in the market, solid, liquid, semi-solid, and their subcategory, and how much percent is available for particular formulation. Next is designing dosage formulation, how you design or how you takes place this pre-formulation study. Introduction of pre-formulation study, what is pre-formulation. Next is consideration of physicochemical characteristic of a new drug molecule. Some physicochemical characteristics, and how you evaluate this physicochemical property. Means suppose you're performing flow property, then how you evaluate this flow property, this particular property. Or after this, you know complete information about pre-formulation. So after this, these are the reference. There's a large number of books is available for free formulation, but these are the major or good books that are referred. In this first is the Theory Practice of Industrial Pharmacy by Leon Lackman, Herbert Lieberman, Joseph King, third edition, published by Vagrancy Publishing House, page number 171 to 184. Second book is Martin, Physical Pharmacy, Pharmaceutical Science, fifth edition by Patrick G. Simcoe, published by Lippincott, Williams and Wickens, page number. Next is Pharmaceutical Dosage Form, Tablet, Volume 1, edited by Herbert Lieberman, Leon Lackman, published by Marshall Decker, page number 1 to 10. Next is Banker GS, Rhodes CT, Modern Pharmaceutical, edition 4, Marshall Decker, New York, 2002. Page number is 167 to 184. Next is Lloyd V. Ellen Nicholas, G. Poppins, Harvard V. Ansel, Ansel's Pharmaceutical Dosage Form and Drug Delivery System, edition 8. BA Publication, PBT Limited, page number is 187 to 193. 42, 43, 126 to 133. All these are books good, and you can refer these books. And other than these books, there are so many books are also available. Next is question part. after completing this topic, you should know complete information of this. So we just clear this concept with the help of these questions. First, you try to solve yourself this question. And after solving this question, you clear why this answer is correct. This first question is optical counting method or hot stage microscopy, segmentation technique, organoleptic property, all are used for particle determination and organoleptic property. Next is these are the precious method of determining melting point that measure phase change in qualitable data. And in this first option is organoleptic property, DSC, DTA, equilibrium solubility, segmentation technique. Answer is B, DSC and DTA. These method is mainly used to determine the melting point or changes of a molecule or phase changes. So correct answer is differential scanning colorimetry and DTA. Next, third question is for weak base, a decrease in pH result in solubility. Suppose pH range is decrease or weak base, it is present, then solubility is increase, decrease, solubility no change. Next is dissolution. Answer correct is A, increase solubility. Means weak base is decrease, then the pH result in solubility increase. The result in solvent that may be formed from compound crystallized using solvent. In this first answer is polymorphism, pseudopolymorphism, co-solvent effect, amorphous form. Correct answer is pseudopolymorphism. Means the result in solvent that may be formed compound crystallized using solvent. Pseudopolymorphism is the correct answer. Next, fifth is a non-crystalline form that is often more soluble than corresponding crystal form. In this, A option is dissolution, B is solubility, C is co-solvent, D is amorphous form. Correct answer is amorphous form, non-crystalline form that is often more soluble than corresponding crystal form. So correct answer is amorphous because crystalline form show less solubility compared to amorphous form, and amorphous form get easily solubilized compared to crystal form because crystal are in 3D structure but amorphous are randomly arranged molecule. Next question is, which is the ordinary simple method of determining particle size? It is a widely used and involve passing the particle through various sieve. In this first is bulk characterization, sieve analysis, capillary melting method, and sedimentation technique. So correct answer is sieve analysis. With the help of this sieve analysis, you easily sample, check the particle size, or maybe check how much particle size is present, is it uniform size or not. Because CUCUs that are different in size, it easily forget in different particle size according to their size. So correct answer is sieve analysis. Means sieve analysis is used ordinary sample method for determining particle size, and it is mainly used to involve passing the particle through various sieves. Next, seventh question is that the rate of a drug become available to organism. The rate limited step, co-solvent effect, optical counting method, solubility, dissolution. Correct answer is dissolution. Means rate of drug become available in organism. The rate limiting step of absorption is dissolution. Dissolution not easily show good readings or maybe show some variation. So rate limiting step in absorption is dissolution. And the eighth question is the solubility of unionized parent compound. Answer is optical counting method, equilibrium solubility method, intrinsic solubility, and D is organoleptic property. Correct answer is intrinsic solubility. Means unionized parent compound are easily solubilized in intrinsic solubility property. Correct answer is intrinsic solubility. And ninth question is, this method can be measure particle size below 1 micron or most exact method covered by measuring how well particle passing through a laser beam scattered light. In this first to understand question, the method can measure particle size below 1 micron or most exact method. Means which method you use which easily measure less than 1 micron particle or exact reading or how particle passing through that particular scattered light. In this first option is laser diffraction method, B is bulk characterization, C is electron counting method, D is segmentation method. Correct is laser diffraction method or A. Laser diffraction method is very good method. It gives accurate or more exact result, and particle size less than 1 micron can also easily check. Next, 10th question is the presence of a co-solvent can increase the solubility of hydrophobic organic chemicals. In this, first option is co-solvent effect, second is dissolution, third is capillary melting, D is organoleptic property. Correct answer is A, co-solvent effect. Means presence of a co-solvent can increase the solubility of hydrophobic organic chemicals by the help of co-solvent effect. Co-solvent effect maybe change hydrophobic chemicals, and this is a correct option. So this is all about the pre-formulation, physicochemical property of pre-formulation, and these are the questions we already covered, and what method you use for determining this pre-formulation parameter. So thank you everyone for watching and listening this video. Thank you so much.